We now head to Los Angeles in the 1940s, where a young actress was brutally murdered.
What if the truth behind one of the most chilling unsolved murders is hidden in plain sight?
When America's Carl Hensley digs deeper into the case of the Black Dahlia.
The Black Dahlia case has captivated millions, but could the real killer be someone you'd never expect? Don't miss this mind-bending journey through lies, deceit, and shocking revelations. Time is running out to uncover the truth. Are you ready to dive in? In January 1947, a phone rang in Medford, Massachusetts. Phoebe Short, a mother eager for news of her daughter Elizabeth, picked up the receiver. What she didn't know was that the voice on the other end would forever change the course of her life. The man, Wayne Sutton, a reporter for the LA Examiner, told Phoebe that her daughter had just won a beauty contest in Southern California. But this was a lie, a cruel ploy to gather personal details about Elizabeth for an article. It wasn't until the shocking revelation came moments later. Elizabeth had been found murdered, left in a vacant lot in Los Angeles, grotesquely mutilated. Sutton's betrayal was one of many in a case that would go on to define the brutal intersection of media sensationalism, police incompetence, and the fractured lives of those involved. A grisly discovery. On January 15, 1947, Elizabeth Short's body was discovered by a passerby in the heart of Los Angeles. The body was so shockingly posed that it appeared more like a mannequin discarded on the side of the street. When Mrs. Persinger, the first to find the body, realized what she had stumbled upon, she called the police. What followed was chaos. Photographers, reporters, and officers, all mingling at the crime scene. It was an unnerving scene, but at the time, the importance of maintaining a pristine crime scene was still foreign to most. Elizabeth's body had been drained of blood, meticulously bisected, and posed in a way that suggested a twisted ritual. Her arms raised above her head, and a gruesome grin had been carved into her face, creating an image that would haunt the city for decades. The severity of the violence indicated a level of personal rage or control, and perhaps even a medical expertise, suggesting that the killer had some understanding of anatomy. Exploiting tragedy for profit. The media frenzy surrounding the Black Dahlia murder began immediately, with the LA Examiner and its competitors jumping into action. The Examiner, in particular, used its connection with the LAPD to gain access to the crime scene before even the police. What followed was a grotesque display of yellow journalism, with reporters taking photos of the dismembered body before police could even secure the area. One infamous moment occurred when a reporter, on his way to the scene, reached the body first. Instead of allowing the police to handle the situation, he began taking photographs, forever immortalizing the gruesome crime in the public eye. This exploitation of Elizabeth Short's death was a hallmark of the media's involvement in the case, turning the tragedy into a public spectacle. The case became not just a murder mystery, but a symbol of the media's power and the voyeuristic tendencies of the public. The Black Dahlia murder, like so many others before and after, was no longer about justice for the victim, but about selling newspapers. As the media began to sensationalize Elizabeth's life and death, the truth, her identity as a young woman struggling with loss, depression, and a search for belonging, was lost. A trail of false leads and frustrations, the LAPD, while diligent, struggled to make sense of the case. The investigation was hampered by numerous false confessions, each more bizarre than the last, and the sheer volume of suspects and theories. Initially, the police had a theory that Elizabeth Short had been a prostitute, but this was soon disproven. As they dug deeper, they found that she had connections to various men and had recently stayed in several places before her death. One of the most compelling early suspects was a man named Robert Red Hanley, who had dated Elizabeth shortly before her death. The LAPD tracked him down, and after hours of interrogation and a polygraph test, they cleared him. But the press, hungry for a narrative, latched onto Hanley, further muddying the investigation. Despite the extensive efforts of the LAPD, the case remained unsolved. Investigators could not identify the killer or even find a solid lead. One of the most baffling aspects of the case was the killer's knowledge of forensics, suggesting a man with medical experience. In the end, the investigation would peter out, and the case would eventually go cold, leaving behind more questions than answers. The woman behind the myth. To truly understand the Black Dahlia case, one must look beyond the sensationalized headlines and examine the life of the victim, Elizabeth Short. Born in July 1924 in Massachusetts, Elizabeth's life was far from the image the media would later construct of her as a femme fatale, or a Hollywood hopeful who got caught in the web of the city's dark underbelly. Elizabeth, or Beth as she preferred, had a tumultuous upbringing. Her father, a man named Clue Short, disappeared when she was just a child, leaving her mother, Phoebe, to raise 5 daughters alone. The impact of her father's absence would resonate throughout her life, and in her search for connection, Elizabeth moved to California in hopes of finding something greater than the small-town life she had known. Her brief time in Los Angeles was marked by struggle, loneliness, and fleeting relationships. She never sought out fame in the traditional sense, nor did she have any serious aspirations to become an actress. Instead, Elizabeth worked odd jobs, including as a waitress and a movie usherette. She tried to make ends meet while secretly battling depression over the death of her fiancé, a war pilot who had died in a plane crash shortly before the end of World War II. Yet, in the media's eyes, she was the epitome of a tragic Hollywood starlet, a woman who had fallen prey to the seedy underworld of Los Angeles. This distorted image of Elizabeth Short overshadowed the reality of her life, a life filled with heartache, loss, and the quiet pursuit of a better future. A murder shrouded in mystery. Over the years, numerous theories have emerged regarding the identity of Elizabeth's killer, each more outlandish than the last. Some point to organized crime, others to a connection with Hollywood's elite. The most enduring theory, however, is that the murderer was someone with an intimate knowledge of anatomy, a theory that has led many to speculate that the killer was a doctor or surgeon. Theories abound, but the truth remains elusive. Some researchers, like Larry Harnish, argue that the key to solving the case lies in the connection between Elizabeth and certain influential figures in Los Angeles. Harnish's theory focuses on a man named Dr. Walter Bailey, a respected surgeon with ties to the medical community and the neighborhood where Elizabeth's body was found. Bailey's involvement in the case remains a point of contention, but it is one of the more plausible theories based on physical evidence and witness testimony. Ultimately, the Black Dahlia case remains one of the most infamous unsolved murders in American history. The victim, Elizabeth Short, has been reduced to a symbol of tragedy, her memory warped by myth and sensationalism. Yet, beneath the layers of media manipulation, there lies a young woman whose life was marked by loss, confusion, and a yearning for something more. The enduring legacy of the Black Dahlia. The Black Dahlia case remains an enigma, a haunting reminder of the darkness that can reside within a city like Los Angeles. It is a case that has been shaped and reshaped by media and myth, with the victim's true story obscured by the flood of false narratives. Elizabeth Short's legacy is one of exploitation, both in life and in death. Yet in the midst of the chaos and confusion, there is one undeniable truth. The search for justice for Elizabeth Short continues, even as the world moves on, leaving the Black Dahlia murder unsolved. The mystery of the Black Dahlia may never be fully solved, but the hunt for answers continues. But don't go anywhere. Our next video uncovers the chilling details of the JonBenet Ramsey murder mystery. Subscribe now so you won't miss the next shocking revelation. Join the journey, you won't want to be left behind.